Wonderful. Thank you all. This is fantastic. Thank you all for showing up this morning. Really appreciate it. So today we're going to talk about customer discovery and product market fit. It's kind of a misnomer because product market fit includes customer discovery. So it's really just one of those two things, not both. But we're going to talk about product market fit and all the different pieces of that, focusing in on the customer discovery portion of it, but I'll touch the other pieces as well. So my name's, I know most of you folks, but for the people that don't know me, I've worked for the Chamber of Commerce. I'm Vice President of Growth for them. What I did for the last 20 years is I spent my life helping companies build efficiencies and build new products and businesses. Those products then spun out to be businesses. I worked in the education industry before online schooling was a thing, built a bunch of online schools, or a few online schools, helped education companies grow, expand internationally, and then actually before that I worked for a federal bank working in their collections industry and actually worked to build efficiencies, which ended up being during a time of everything moving and outsourcing to India. So we started India call centers. And so I started wearing the whole international hat at that point in time. And then every company I went to after that just had an international component to it. Ultimately, I started working for Jimmy. Good morning. Ultimately, everybody, that's Jimmy. Ultimately, I went to an insurance company and spent 10 years there working on building to refurbish and install iPads, and turned into a global business, countries, 4 different continents, and so spent my life on a plane at that point in time. So I did not want to spend a plane up there. So I wanted to do something that was meaningful and impactful. And I loved in my experiences internationally, but I just didn't see that was not me, right? It was not my ability to have a one-on-one impact with individuals and companies, which brought me to the Chamber, because what better place to have a local impact than there. So yeah, and I try to do as much here as I possibly can. I typically spend my Wednesdays here in order to just be in the culture of innovation and entrepreneurship, because that's something that I absolutely positively love. So that's me in a handbasket. Overall, I've sold about $2 billion worth of products across the globe, and yeah, led dozens of product development initiatives. And those could be very small, right? One of them could be as small as we were working on this is what it's called, a monthly pay subscription for cell phones. So instead of having to go pay $1,200 for a cell phone option, then we had an automatic upgrade. So once you paid off a certain amount, we would automatically upgrade you to the next device. So that was just a small product, right? But that launch took a really long time. It took about 6 months just to build the software, and another 6 months to identify the market and to launch it. But yeah, that's just one of the many things that I've worked on. Today we're going to talk about product market fit, customer discovery. We're going to understand what that is, why you want to use it, and then we're going to talk about why is it important and how should you get started. We'll even do a little bit of exercise here. I'm not sure yet what the exercise is because I don't know if I'm going to use one of your businesses, one of my businesses, or if we're going to use something very simple like a lemonade stand, right? I haven't really defined that yet, so I'll figure it out by the time that comes around. But I'm trying to figure out how to do an exercise around customer discovery so you get a feel for it. And this is softball. You want to do softball? Actually, that's not a bad idea. Okay, so you've got your product on one side, you've got the market demand and the market on the other side. This is what you're looking for. You're looking for the overlap, right? This is a crowded market, right? There's a lot of demand for a lot of different things, and we'll talk about what that is later. But basically, you're trying to find the sweet spot, the opportunity for your product to be successful. We're all small businesses, right? We don't have unlimited budgets. We don't have the ability to spend, $500 million. The number, this was a long time ago now, but 20 years ago, the number was if you wanted to build a national brand just in the United States, you needed to spend $500 million in marketing a year. And that was probably 20 years ago, right? That's what University of Phoenix was spending in order to build the brand that they built that you see today with their, 500,000 students or whatever that they have, right? Back in the 2000s, they were spending $500 million on marketing. So that's now a name brand that everybody recognizes. We don't have that money. So I don't have that money. But you may. So if you do, you may be in the wrong room. But if you don't, please stay here because we're going to learn what you do if you have smaller budgets than that. I found a couple little things that you're not going to find a very clear definition of product market fit. Everybody sees it a little differently. So this is kind of the David Conti version of it all. But it's most of the components. Some people make it broader, some people make it a little bit closer. But what we're trying to find here is we're trying to find this connection point, right? The connection point between the underserved needs of your market, identifying who your target market is, what are their underserved needs, and then you're creating the user experience, the feature set, and the value prop to set into that, right? Because if you look at the fact that, I always look at crowded markets. So if you look at a very crowded market like the beverage market, right? If you're trying to compete with Coca-Cola and Pepsi, right? You're not going to come out with a soda, right? You're not going to come up with just a general, knockoff like an RC Cola, right? That is not the way to enter the market. RC Cola has been around for a really long time, but in today's day, you've got to differentiate. You have to have something unique. You have to appeal to the underserved needs of a target because there's just so much out there available. And so if you go to market with just another soda, general flavor, it's not going to do well. You're not going to sell it. So at the end of the day, you're designing your product to meet the needs of that market. So if you don't know who your target market is, you have a major problem. That's step one, is understanding who your customer is, which is why that title comes first in what this is, customer discovery. Strategizer came up with this. A lot of people use this business model canvas, right? Who's used the business model canvas before? Excellent. So I don't love the business model canvas, but it's a good way to. What you have today in this, it should not be the same as what you have tomorrow. It should not be the same as you have the next day, right? This is constantly adapting, constantly changing. What we're talking about today is this quadrant right here. We're going to walk through the customer relationships, customer segments, the channels, and the value props. Right? We're not going to get into those other pieces, but all of those other pieces stem from what we're going to talk about today. So, startups. What's a startup, right? A startup is a group of limitations. We're extremely limited, right? We have limited resources, right? Nobody here has the $500 million to be spending on marketing like University of Phoenix did. Nobody here has 50 people that can start creating an army of folks to go out there and find business. We have limited time as individuals. A lot of us probably have full-time jobs that we're working at the same time as that we're launching our business. If you're not, you're a very lucky person because it makes things very, very much easier in the long run than if you do not. Most people do not. We have a limited brand awareness. Most people don't know outside of this room or outside of Fayette County who you are, right? So these limitations are evil, but they're also fantastic, right? Because this allows you to do something different. You are then more nimble. You're more flexible. You can change. You can ebb and flow. You can test your market, right? And that's what we're here for. At the end of the day, this is an iterative process. Nobody's going to tell you the exact answer to your problem. This is about who you are, who you see your customers need, and the needs your customers have are a multitude of difference. If I identified a customer, I guarantee every single person in here would identify a different need, right? And so your business is unique to you because it's solving the problem that you think that customer has, right? But so how do you, at the end of the day, develop a world-class product? So let me say this too. This is interactive, right? I don't want to sit here reading slides. That's not fun for me. It's probably not fun for you. So at the end of the day, please let's raise your hand, ask questions, interrupt, right? Everything on here is about learning. So let's make this as interactive as possible. So Mark Andreessen has this cool quote. He says, product market fit means being in a good market with a product that can satisfy that market. At the end of the day, if you don't have a real audience that has a real problem and that pushes them to understand that that's valuable and that they want to take action, those three things are the most critical pieces. Now, if you ask Henry Ford, He'll tell you that, customers don't know what they want. But the minute he came out with the Model T, I guarantee he started selling them, right? If he didn't start selling them, we wouldn't have Ford Motor Company anymore, right? So at the end of the day, there was a need. There was a real problem that he identified, right? You don't need a faster horse, you need a car, right? There was a real audience, all these people trying to get farther away from their home to do something, pick up groceries, go to work, right? He expanded our whole world. Can you imagine never leaving Fayette County, right? You're so limited. You're limited in restaurants, you're limited in food that you can purchase, you're limited in your jobs, right? If you can't leave within the amount of space that you could walk, right? And so, or ride a horse. So he solved a problem that was a major problem. People just didn't know it yet, right? But today it's a huge problem, right? Not having a car. How many people do you know that they lose their job because they can't get to work, right? Or they're missing out on something, because of that. So those are the critical pieces of product market fit. You have to identify a real customer, a real problem that customer has, and you have to create the value that they're willing to pay for. Okay, so at this point, the people exchange money for an item that they find valuable. The value of that item has to be more valuable than the dollars that they're putting into it, right? If you're not more valuable than the money they're spending, they're not going to spend the money, right? And so you're creating value. And there's a lot of examples out there, but you can look at, just look at this bottle of water, right? If there's no value to this bottle of water, it's never going to come off the shelf. It's never going to sell, right? So how are you making this more valuable to me and my dollar than anything else? So, the value to this, right? It's the size, right? This can fit in your pockets, can fit in your bag, right? So that's valuable. It's different. How many of these tiny little bottles do you see? There's not a million of them. You go to the store, there's probably only one or two brands that make them this size. That's the reason why, right? They know their demographic. Maybe this is for your kid to take in their lunchbox, right? So they've defined their customer, and they've defined their customer will buy a bottle this big. Not everybody buys it, but it's here, so it's been purchased, right? So they've done a deep dive into their customer, right? That same customer you can deep dive, and maybe they deep dive into moms and what do moms need, right? And they want something that goes in their yoga bag, also something that goes into their kid's lunchbox. But they could also deep dive into that and think, hey, Stanley. Stanley had that same demographic. What'd they come out with? They come out with this giant bottle of water that stays cold for 48 hours, right? So same market, same person, two completely different products, right? And so that's the uniqueness of business, is that you can have two competing companies with two very different products. Jason?
David, it's kind of interesting that you, especially using the small bottle analogy or example, because I've never seen an advertisement for a small bottle, right?
Never.
But because it was built, created to solve a problem, I had to use it. This was an example, build it and they'll come.
Correct. And we're going to go into that too. This is why we do this. It saves you money at the end of the day. If you create it creates a pull that your customers are buying your product because they need it, not because they saw it on TV or they saw it on TikTok. Right?
Yeah, also that bottle of water, 8 ounces or whatever it is, the price varies by 300% based on where it is and what the demand is. So from Costco to the airport, that same bottle of water goes from 17 cents to $4.
And then if you go to the Mercedes-Benz, it's $8 or $10, right?
So those, even though you have a product, understanding your audience and where it is dictates the price, because the margin is just completely off the charts at different locations and different demand needs, right? So same product, just a wide difference in price.
And I love that, because at the end of the day, it's a distribution strategy. So part of product market fit is how do you have to distribute this bottle of water to maximize sales, right? And so same thing Barry was just saying, right? The Mercedes-Benz is more expensive. What if you're in the middle of the desert, dying of thirst? How much are you going to pay for this bottle of water, right? So unlimited amount, right? So location matters, and you're going to sell a lot less of these, so you're going to have to increase the price anyway. But that's what we're going to talk about, right? That's what product market fit is. And I think, Jason, that was ideal what you said. Nobody's ever seen a commercial for this. Nobody knows why they make these, right? I had no idea until I picked it up because I was thirsty that, why they make these. It makes no sense, right? But it does. It makes a perfect sense to a certain market. And this is just a single product that this company makes because this company's already got a brand out there. They already know you like their water, right? So this is a different modality on a product that already exists. So again, those are good things to have, right? Different products. You go to the salt spa, you're not going to see just one product. She has 10 different things that you can select from. So she's trying to widen her customer segment, right? And she's also trying to create an upsell and cross-sell. So when you go there, there's more things and a reason to come back, right? And so you want to create a customer that wants to continuously do business with you.
And those water bottles are ideal for moms who go crazy with all the kids come over and leave. Take 2 sips out of the water, and then you've got these full bottles. So it's.
That's why I started buying the small Cokes, because the kids would just drink 2 sips and leave a full Coke there.
I know, right?
Crazy. So on that same lines, you guys already helped me on this, right? So product pull, right? Findability, right? You're going to spend less money on marketing. You're going to spend less money on branding because your product fits the market so well that customers are coming to you, and you don't have to worry about, about going and spending money on that marketing piece. Sorry, Jason, but he's a marketing guy, so. And then customer identification. A lot of times customers will self-select, right? This is a perfect example. They've never done any marketing. It just sits there in the store shelves, and guess what? It sells, right? Because customers are self-selecting. It's funny, if you go to Costco and you go to the water aisle, they've got these huge pallets, right? And they've got like 5 different waters you can pick. And then if you go to the very back of that row, they've got a pallet of these, right? And the pallet of these never sells as well as the other ones, but they still stock it. And there's usually only 1 pallet versus the other ones have like 3 or 4 pallets deep. But they always continue to stock it. So people have a need for these tiny little bottles of water. Can you imagine being at Launch Vet and be like, I want to be the guy who creates the little bottles of water? You know what I mean? It's a joke. Why would you do that, right? So, but it works. So because you have to know your customer better than anyone else. What is product market fit formula, right? We said this already, but it's the right product, the right customer. It solves a real problem. It is right with timing, and then it's right with delivery. So I said right with timing because does anybody know what this is down here?
It was the early Google Glass.
Google Glass. Nice job, Chris. So Google Glass. So Google Glass was a genius invention that was way too early. Way too early. And so now we have the Ray-Bans, right, that Facebook has. And where did it all come from? All they did was steal this 10 years ago or whatever, 15 years ago.
There was the ad for it.
Yeah, but there was an
There's a
ad.
guy in like Venice, and he's like screaming to buy stocks.
Yeah.
And scaring all the birds and everything like that.
That's
That was like
hilarious.
15 years ago.
I should have had that on. I didn't know there was a commercial.
Yeah.
But yeah, so timing is important because of the fact that the market was not ready for this. Genius product. The product it just was not. They were not ready for it, but they're ready now. So now 10 years later, why did Google Glass not come back? Why did they not say, well, let's dust that off and bring it back out? They haven't done that yet, right? As far as I know. Very, very odd they haven't done that, but I know the whole Facebook thing and the Ray-Ban thing is picking up steam. My wife works for the school system, and they had to write a new policy for taking Google Glasses not Google Glasses, taking the Facebook glasses into tests, all the standardized tests. Now the teachers have to check your glasses and see if there's cameras on them. Isn't that crazy? Like, this is changing the world, right?
Well, that's how the non-English speaking CDL drivers pass the test. Have you seen that? Yeah, they wear those glasses and they have someone feeding them the answers in their native language. And they can't even read the question.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's scary. But you know what? That opens the whole world up too, because now we can get up and we can go to another country and we don't speak the language, and now we can walk around and feel safe and know how to talk and all that stuff, translate signs and things like that. So it's a genius application. But they were just way too early. They were too smart. They were much smarter than us, right? They came up with something before we even needed it. So they didn't know their customer very well, right? They should have created more of a stair-step approach to that, something more simplistic. But they didn't. They went and jumped right into that, and then it failed miserably. Okay, so what are the elements of product market fit? These are your elements. Step one is you really need to understand your customer. And again, this is not a full list. This is kind of my list. If you guys want to add to this, I highly recommend just raise your hand and what did I miss? But customer discovery, right? At the end of the day, you need to know who your customer is. That means gender, ethnicity, age, income, geography, subcategories. Are they moms? Are they gym fanatics? Are they, were they ex-military, right? So, or in the military. These are all like subcategories of who your demographic is. What are their hobbies? How do they like to shop? What are their behaviors and their habits? And then at the end of the day, you're trying to discover what their pain points is around your product or idea, right? The solution, what solution do you immediately propose or that you think you're proposing, right? And then test it, right? The testing is the most important piece. That's the piece that I think if you get anything out of this whole entire presentation today, it is making sure that you're testing your market and you're talking to your customers. If you're not talking to your customers, you're not testing the market, then you're not iterating on all this, because you can always know your customer better. Always, right? You can always do a better job. There's always like tiny water bottles, right? How many questions did you have to ask a person to really understand that the size of the water that they're buying is just too big, right? That's a lot of detail. That's a lot of questions to ask. That's a lot of relationships to build, right? And then now that you have a solution, who are your competitors? What features and benefits does your competitors have? What's your price point that your competitors have? Start mapping all that stuff out, right? Have a list of all your competitors and start looking at price, term, contract. Is it a 12-month? Is it a 1 day? Is it a one-time purchase? Is it a 12-month contract? You know, I know Barry's done a great job on this and understanding with Let's Go Pickleball who he's competing with. And he's competing with every gym out there, every other sport out there, right? He's trying to create a product that people want to purchase and stay with for a very long time, right? Because he makes his money not on year one, but after reiterating and people are renewing and paying month after month after month for a product, and he wants to make sure that he stays engaged, because as customers need to be using the product and staying engaged over time. Price points, right? Price point is very, 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 very important, right? A price swing of $1 one way or another, especially today when gas is over $4, is really important, right? It could make or break your business, right? I always tell people that you need to let your customer decide your price at this level, right? At the startup level, because between your competitors are setting a, I don't know what the words are, but
Race
a
to the bottom.
Yeah, race to the bottom, but also a maximum minimum, right? And so I always bring up design, I always bring up purses, right? There's a reason why a Louis Vuitton is at the top, or a Hermes is at the top, right? That is it's not because of the price of the product, right? The product is really good, the product lasts a really long time, the materials are expensive, but they're still making more money off that purse than any other purse manufacturers, right? And so if you got Guess down here and you've got Louis up here, then there's a market for that, and price is important. If I don't know if Louis Vuitton's a guy, but if that person offered his product or her product in the middle, would have sold too well. Perfect example is Tag Heuer. Tag Heuer started out as a $300 to $500 watch. You know how many sold? Very, very little. They were going out of business. They hired a new person, CEO, marketing person, CFO, whatever it was, to come in and identify what was wrong with the brand. Very first thing they did was he didn't change a single thing. He just increased the price. He's like, we're competing with the wrong people. I don't want to compete with the Casios or the Citizens of the world. I want to compete with the Rolexes of the world. So he tripled the price, and now look at Tag. Every single sports athlete in the world has a Tag watch, right? All because they didn't change a single thing. It was a great product. They just changed the price. That was it. Brand positioning. Once you do have these things, so now you know the problem that you solve, you know your customer, you know your price point, you got to go into brand positioning, right? And so I hate to say this out loud, but you may have the wrong brand, Your brand may not speak to people the way you think your brand speaks to people. And the only way to determine that is to talk to people about your brand as well. Speak with your customers, right? If you have a brand that has, let's just say it has some German word in there that's like very rough and gruff, but you're selling baby products, people may not put two and two together, right? They may not want their baby to wear, some gross word on their shirt, right? And so you need to be very careful about the brand itself that represents your business. And it has to tie back to your customer, right? At the end of the day, if, so a buddy of mine wanted to create a business. It was a distribution of gasoline, right? His wife has never filled up he's been married for 20 years, his wife has never filled up a gas tank in one time. That's his job. He needs to do it. He's the CEO of a big company, and so he's got to come home and he's exhausted, and he's got to run out and gas up his wife's car. So he wanted to create a business that goes around pumping gas into people's cars, which is, strangely enough, this was 5 years ago he came up with this, but it's everywhere now, right? There's a lot of people that do this. But he wanted to call it Gas Hole. Yeah, it's funny, right? It's a great name. What woman is going to call up and open her Gas Hole app to go and ask for the gas guy to come and fill up her car? And I'm like, that's a terrible name. He's like, I love it. It's so funny. I'm like, yeah, for you, you're not the market, right? So.
Tank with like kindergartners.
Yeah. He's very funny, but he's very smart as well.
And so my question is, did he change the name but then incorporate Gas Hole as like a price level or subscription level to keep it for his own?
Lack of a better word, I changed his market, and we never launched the company. But I wanted to do boats, so go around a lake house, all these vacation homes, and go and gas up their lake houses, their lake boats.
Yes.
Because all of these people are CEOs that are coming to the lake just for the weekend. They don't have the time to go take their boat out to get gas and all that kind of stuff. So Gas Hole in that case makes sense to me because now it's a guy who thinks that's funny, laugh like you all did, and says, love to show his app off to all his friends. I just got Gas Hole, guys. So different market, right? We applied the market to the brand. Right? I don't recommend doing that, but that was what we did in this case. We never launched the business, but now it's in Conti. We were going to do it in Conti. Now there is a gas distribution company in Conti, so I thought it was a good idea, right? Because the company actually got launched. But anyways, that's a perfect example of branding and why branding and market has to match, right? And it gets challenging the bigger you get. Because you're not going to, like Coca-Cola's not going to change their name, right? But what do? They create sub-brands, right? They're sub-brands. Don't necessarily have to be sub-companies, but those sub-brands are to appeal to a different demographic that their brand does not, right? Coca-Cola getting into healthy drinks, you probably don't want to call it Coca-Cola, right? If Truly got into non-alcoholic drinks, or like let's say, I don't know, Jim Beam, you probably don't want to call it Jim Beam, right? Because you're not going to give your kid, hey, here's Jim Beam, these are the things you need to think through. So just because you have a brand doesn't mean you don't need to rename it or you need to change the product name to appeal to this demographic. Because this is stuff that we want to do as early as possible, right? I know we all have businesses, but we need to kind of take a step back, right? We're already pre-tuned and predefined on what we do and what our market is and what we are. You gotta kind of take a step back and forget everything you've learned and start over from scratch, right? What does my customer need? Who truly is my customer, right? If anybody ever tells you my customer is everyone in the United States, run away. That is not an answer, right? You need to start off minusculely at this level and grow from there, right? If you can't tell me the gender, age, and income of your customer today, right now, then you're not in the right place. You have to know those three things at least, and then build on them. And over time, like Coca-Cola, right? Expand. How did Coca-Cola get started? Medicine, right? It was a guy in a horse-drawn carriage selling medicine, right? And so if you're not sick, we're not going to go to his presentation. You're not going to buy his Coca-Cola, right? Or if you don't have a sick loved one, you're not going to be there. That's not your market, right? His market was very defined. people in these small towns that I can ride my horse-drawn carriage to that are sick and looking for a solution to their woes, right? But now look at it. Now everybody in the world knows Coca-Cola. Everybody drinks Coca-Cola. That's not where you started. You have to start very specific. Okay, so step one of product market fit is customer discovery. This is the longest section. So, can I ask somebody to do me a favor? Somebody who's good at time. Can you tell me when we're halfway through, when we're close to halfway through? And then tell me when we're done. So this is a 3-hour course, is that right? Sign up for a 3-hour course? Like a 3-hour tour. Hopefully we don't crash the boat. Halfway, so like that would be 10:30. Yep, and then when it's over, 12.
Hey Siri, tell me when it's 10:30.
Okay, so does all this resonate so far? When we're done here, I don't have a survey, but I think Steve probably does, but I'd love to have a survey of what you think this class is missing, and then I could do a good job presenting it. Like I'm looking for feedback as much as possible. I'd like to do this more often, if possible. Yes, Ron.
I'm fighting to relate to the slides that you're showing as it pertains to my service business.
Perfect. Yes.
And so far, I'm not seeing that connection. The product, the physical product, yeah, you could say my photographs are my physical product, but are my physical product, I should say. But I don't see how, with the environment that I'm in as a company, looking for customers, everybody is my competitor. As long as they have this, they're a photographer, they think. How do I get above that?
Okay. So, is Leticia your competitor?
Well, because she specializes in headshots.
What else does she specialize in? Women's headshots. Okay.
Chief
So typically, Ron and Leticia is in this room on Wednesdays. They're both photographers. Leticia is highly focused on women empowerment. That's her brand. And so she takes pictures in the best light, in the best day, in the best time, in the best environment for women to look their best.
She also offers a hairstylist, makeup artist on site at the.
Why does she do that, Ron?
That's her
That's
customer.
well, it separates her.
That's her customer.
Our customer wants that.
That's what her customer wants.
Okay.
She has defined.
You go to Walmart, right?
Yeah.
Nordstrom's, she wants service. You go to Walmart, she wants price.
Yep. And when you go to Walmart, guess what you're gonna have to do? You're gonna wait in line, no matter what, right? You're gonna probably be pissed off when you walk out the door, no matter what. But you save money, and they make money because of that, right? So their brand is all about saving money, and they've cut corners to do that. But that's what we want. We want those falling prices, right? That's what their demographic wants. So she has doubled down on her market. She has said, I want to service women. I want to be the best out there to service this demographic. And I want female women to look the best that they possibly can when they're when they're doing something like this where they want their best face forward, right? So she's done what we're talking about here. She's done the customer discovery, right? If you're trying to sell pictures to everyone, that's not you're not selling pictures to anyone, right? So you have to really say, what is it that Ron loves to do, right? What is it Ron can see himself doing and he enjoys doing? And then what is it that the customers, what's the tie to the customer? What does the customers need that he can differentiate and focus in on, right? So I don't think you're selling pictures at all. I think you're selling an image, you're selling memories, right? And so those are two different things, right? Image is my headshot. That's an image, right? I want to make sure my headshot's the best. But if it was memories, it's different. I want candid shots. I want you shaking your head because that's a great picture, right? And so I want things that are different, right? So I'm going to change my brand. I'm going to change my product and the product offering based upon what I'm trying to meet, the need I'm trying to meet. And in this case, if it's memories, well then you're not showing up to an event, you're showing up 2 hours before the event. You want to see people getting ready. You want to see people decorating, right? The memories is the entire event, not just and I'll tell you the entire event from start to finish, not just the event itself, right?
Yeah, it's just like, I think, one photographer that's taking baby pictures in the hospital, it's all about the memories and experience, so the parents are vulnerable to pay a bunch of money because they got their iPhones, and they know they're gonna get a professional person, theoretically, that's gonna take pictures and then send them, and they're gonna send them $199 photo package, but that's their target audience. Newborns in a hospital, where parents are willing to pay because they've got their Lucy all nice and cuddled up. That's all they do is take pictures of babies in hospitals. That's it. They don't do weddings, they don't do bar mitzvahs, they do babies in hospitals.
Yep.
So they know who their customer is. You just have to know who your customer is.
And they're priced accordingly. And they price accordingly.
Businesses urging you everything. Like, I could call you to do my wedding, I don't know, but.
Not your
He doesn't want to do
Not
weddings.
that,
He
no
doesn't do
weddings,
weddings.
not there, but like headshots.
So-
In fact, I've done headshots for all the people in, meetings, meeting cups,
Right,
so that people can understand.
so, marketing to like business owners who are building out their websites, good data owners for you are people who build business websites. Marketing agencies. Another way is at the end of the year, companies throw Christmas parties, everybody's already dressed up, they're all gonna be together in one place, so we can do headshots as a part of the Christmas party. So now you're talking about your data owner is an HR generalist or somebody who plans a Christmas party for everybody. So that would be, like, that's what I'm hearing is like, those are the people that you're talking about.
Or event photography at the event, they
At
take
the event.
pictures and.
Maybe, yeah, do like a special package with the event spaces around town that host the Christmas parties.
My business name started as Arcade Studios, and I'm realizing that that doesn't say anything of what I really do. But if I say Arcade Image Studios, or just say Arcade Images, maybe that's closer.
I would say if events is your angle, I'd go with RK event photography or something to, you
So you
know,
want me to
be
specific?
very specific.
And I was gonna say, when you said phone, everybody has this. First off, the one thing that a phone can't do that a professional photographer can is play music and take pictures. I can't play music and take a picture to create an experience for the person that's there. So that's the first thing in this day and age that I know I'm paying for. So then when I meet someone that say, oh, you want professional pictures, my thing is, for someone that specifically is catered to the music lovers, then it's, I'll allow you to play your playlist while I take pictures. For everybody that loves music, they will be happy. Now this will become an event that they're making, bringing their own playlist. So I just wanted to show you that one thing that you said is not accurate. That's the one thing we can't have that you can provide. You know what I'm saying? So you solve the problem of what the phone can't do. If you just think about many other things that what the phone can't do, then I can't compete with you.
It's an experience to me, like an experience of photography.
Yes,
Like
and
woman,
then poses, my phone doesn't, when I'm starting taking a picture, it doesn't say lift your head, turn to the right, you look good with here and there. So now your market is people who's maybe intimidated or shy by poses. My experience is working with those type of customers. So that's getting people out of the mindset of what I can do as a picture.
Or you can market to the wives who husbands don't take good pictures.
I mean, that's a whole category.
And this specialization, and I'm not saying specialize forever, but specialization in the beginning when you're a startup is critical because you want to make sure you've got a set group of focused people to talk to. So there's in Tyrone, there's a friend of mine, she owns a marketing agency. She does social media, fantastic at social media, but she only does construction. That's it. She will not do any other brand. And why does she only do construction? Because of her products. Her products are extraordinarily expensive because what does she do? She goes to the job site every day for the first, 6 months, or every week for the first 6 months. And she takes pictures of the drivers, she profiles the drivers, the employees, she looks at the equipment, she takes pictures of the equipment doing work, right? She videotapes them. This is all social media fodder for the construction company to start listing out, here's all the projects we're working on. And it's not just a picture of an empty land, right, or a land with a bunch of equipment. It's detailed. Let me talk about the guy who's driving the forklift. Let me talk about the dude who's the person that's driving the backhoe or whatever, right? And so she's doubled down, right, dug deep into what is it that construction companies need to have a social media following, right? So I would say, do the same thing. What are you doing around events to make it where you're taking the best pictures, undeniable that you're the best of the best of the best of that event photography, right? The lady who took pictures from my wedding, she was expensive, but I had to pay for it because she came with the venue. Which is another thing, right? That was a distribution strategy. She set a contract where she gave a kickback to the venue to require me to use her. But we've become best friends over the last 20 years. She still comments on pictures in my Facebook because she offered a service because this was her heart and where her heart was. She didn't want to lose track. She didn't want to take a picture of someone's wedding and never see them again. So she actually offered baby pictures for free. So what do? We jumped in the car and drove 2 hours with our infant to get free baby pictures because she wanted to meet the baby of the couple that she took pictures at the wedding. And yeah, it's so sweet, right? And so she has stayed part of the family. So she now, every time we have an event, every time we have something, she's commenting on a birthday party, all of these things. And still to this day, once a year, on the anniversary of that picture, either the wedding or the baby, she responds and she posts it again. And she says, well, remember these people 20 years ago? And she'll even do like, here's what they look like today or whatever, right? And so she's become part of our family, even though she's just someone who took pictures at her wedding, right? Who stayed in contact with the person who paid pictures of your wedding, You get the DVD and you move on. But like, Steffi Smith in Clayton, Georgia. She's she's a staple of the family. So it's building an experience. It's building a true brand that represents something that people cannot live without.
I have a question because my brand is based upon experience and more so online. So now that I've built the audience, it's been a roadblock to tap into what that problem is. But I had two areas. One area is that for the media and the entertainment industry, people who love their favorite stories feel like there's a lack of experience around their their favorite TV shows, books, and there's a whole community on that. You have Reddit, you have Instagram, there's a whole community. So throughout my social channels, I'm able to tap in and build these engaging conversations that keeps going and gets views. And the other part is that how can I tap into working with these industry professionals now on the marketing side? Like this is my case study. This is how we're able to engage communities. So it's just like trying to hone in on what that experience is and who that customer is, where I'm at for roadblock.
Yep. That's tough. That's a tough one, right? Because I don't know your community. I don't know the contacts or whatnot. There is other case studies, right, around that. I know I can connect you with the woman who started, what is it? What's the Noonan one? It's the moms, the Chatty Noonan Moms. So she started that as a Facebook group. And it grew up to 40,000 people every day going and checking it out. And so now she's got this struggle of, what do I do with this community that I've built? And so she's been pushing her community outside of Facebook, because that's a community she doesn't own, to a website that she does own, right? And so now she has this website that she owns, and she starts offering advertising. So you can't offer advertising on your community on Facebook, but she can on her own site. So now slowly people are trickling over from Facebook over to her website because she's like, read more of the story here, right? And so now it's shorter content to get people to her website, and now she's offering advertising space. So now as a business, I can advertise to all the Chatty Noonan women, right? And so now she's monetizing it. So she's created a product out of a Facebook group. But that's just one example, right? But I don't know your product well enough to like give you advice at this point. But that's you're on the right track. You got to figure out how to take your group that you've built, which is really hard. That's the hardest part of building a business, is building that consistent following, and then build a product that they all want.
I guess now I'm at the point of, I know I need to ask for feedback. So one of the areas I have is a Substack community. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with Substack, which is a newsletter. But within that newsletter, I have all these different social channels, but they're very niche. So you have like a rewatch community for television, or you have a book community. So they're very niche, but the overall Substack is for story lovers, people who want to stay inside their favorite story.
Awesome.
So that is the Substack. So now
Are you inviting the author or the writers? Are you inviting the author or the writers to those
I am.
things?
So I go to a lot of events in community, and it's really great that you're living right there. They have a lot of like industry events. So I meet a lot of people in real time, and a lot of people I build relationships online, and they've been on my day one since I started. So now I'm at the point where I know I need to ask for feedback and say like, what do you do? Like what specifically, like how can this community serve you better? So I'm like, well, maybe I need to just do like a Google form. But
survey.
is that enticing enough? Who's going to want to spend their time doing a Google form? So yeah.
It all depends, right? They're really passionate about it to do it for free, but you can always offer, hey, win a $50 gift card to the salt spa, right? Something, right? Something to that effect. It doesn't take a lot, right? People are going to fill it out because they want whatever it is, the tchotchke that you got, right? But I would try it initially for free and just see how many you get. Typically, in my experience, you'll probably get like 10 to 20% right off the bat. Right? People are just passionate about it. Is that going to be enough, right? Is that a big enough data set if you get 15 to 20%? If you don't, then if you don't think that's enough, and I don't know how big the whole community is, but if that's not enough, then you're going to have to build some kind of incentive.
Okay.
Right, and it all depends how long if it's a one-word survey, I wouldn't worry about an incentive, right? But if you do incentivize it, make sure that dang survey is long. get your value out of it, right? But you're trying to figure out product market fit. You're trying to figure out what product will work there.
Hand over to you.
Oh, good. Enjoy. Good luck. Okay, so why? Does anybody else have any comments? Cynthia, right? No, that's not Cynthia. It's Bridget.
Brittany, yeah.
Brittany, I'm sorry, Brittany.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any comments for Brittany? Anything you thought when you were listening to her story? I love the fact, like, if I think of like my favorite shows growing up and whatnot, like to be able to dig deeper and deeper and deeper into the characters and listen to people, I think that's a huge market right now. Even like the sleuths, the people solving murders and things like that, like people love that deeper thing and the deeperness of understanding who their favorite characters and whatnot are. And I think inviting the creators and inviting the authors where you can actually have them reading some of the content. I would love to get to the point where like, hey, this sitcom ran for 5 years. It was widely successful. Should we bring it back? Should we make it into a movie? Right? So offering a service where these are the people that absolutely love your show. If you want to do another one, if you want to do another one, here's where you need to get into it.
That just kind of brought a thought to my head. Have you looked into or are you familiar with Angel Studios at all?
I am familiar with it, but I have not.
Because like
connected with anyone.
I don't know exactly how it all works, but like there's basically like it's almost like crowdfunding to a degree. Like a lot of people who join, they are also then benefactors. If a film that Angel puts out gets made and it makes money, then it's a return on investment. But it also is an engine for creativity and these things that are happening. And I mean, The Sound of Freedom was shelved. It was made at Disney 3 years before it was released, and Angel got a hold of it and released it, and it was this massive event for them. And they are involved. I mean, content aside, it's like I think it's Mormon and they're Christians. It doesn't necessarily have to be something like that, but bridging what you're doing with investigating like their model about how you can actually go from I'm a rabid fan because this happened twice with Firefly. Because Firefly got pulled off the air after they aired not even all the episodes of the first season, out of order. And this was early 2000s.
Wait, what is that?
This is legendary in crowds of like genre
Oh, okay.
TV, getting the show back. So it was such a early, this is like bulletin boards. This is before social media existed.
Oh, but yeah, okay.
So when people were begging for a DVD release of the series, right? And it's one season of a TV show. And then it was so popular online in the early 2000s that Universal made a feature film to wrap up the series. And now they just announced at, I forget which, Comic-Con or one of these things earlier in the year, that all the remaining cast members that are still alive, there's only one that has died since then, they're coming back and rebooting it as an animated series because it's still popular 20 years later. So all these, there's probably a ton of those
Yeah, there are.
in your
Yeah.
market. And if there's a way to enable real action for all those people that said they should bring this back, they should bring this back, they should bring this back, because all the people that made it, if it was something special, they want to bring it back too. So I would get in touch with, because I don't think that there's anything that Angel is doing along those lines, but that's something that they're probably kind of poised to be able to do because of the democratic nature of the way that they're organized.
Yeah, great idea. Absolutely great idea to get a deep dive into all of that.
I'll just add, for what I see, if I didn't want to participate online, let's say that's happening and I love it. The way that you need to spend money is, like for instance, Son of Anarchy with Jack's guy, I'm still reading. So if there was a way for us to have like, with this person you got in contact and we like celebrate their birthday, even if they didn't attend, like having birthday events, I love celebrating. But the birthday and the celebration will be coming around, actually talking about it, us grieving together, healing together, and then if you like hosting birthday parties in their birthday month, I just believe that eventually the writer, the art, or the other characters will show up and maybe that's, but I would spend a lot of money, like how I go to a concert, $175, I probably would spend $175
I'll talk to you guys.
So that's all I have.
And that's the connection, people want to dive into the bigger TV moments
Yes.
and have that experience.
And there's no official place to go to.
And there's
Right, so like,
yeah.
what does Adam Sandler, what made him do Happy Gilmore 2 20 years later, right? So where is he going to get the pulse of the community? If you were the pulse of the world, of the community, of the viewership, and Adam Sandler could go and log in and read what everybody's saying about Happy Gilmore, because they're probably talking about spin-offs, they're probably talking about characters that should have gotten more development, they're probably talking about all these other things, and he could read that when he's writing the number 2, right, to see what do I need to include to make everybody happy, because these are the biggest fans. Today, those biggest fans are very scattered. How do you take that all together and bring it into one place where all the fans of all these shows can go to one place?
That's great. I think what I'm hearing is because data is the new like monetization, right? And so that's kind of the feeder of like the differentiator of these future AI models, the present AI models, right? It's like data, right? Who's got the data? And this is a great opportunity to have kind of open the closed loop of data that then you can maybe monetize to some of these other organizations to create these different spin-offs and things like that. So it can be another way of
So would the data be the product or would the?
Yeah, like the data would be a great product. You collect, are they male, female, like age,
I mean,
gender?
I already have data and I'm building on top of that, so that's why I'm like, oh.
their activity and their comments is the data. Right? Like we're on Facebook, it doesn't cost us anything, but we're the product.
Yeah.
Right? And they sell that data to whoever the highest bidder is, so your people that are on the platform, your job is to get them to continue to talk and give this feedback, and now you got this data point that said, hey, these are Happy Gilmore example, hey, you know what, for these 3 characters, we're seeing a trending result, or the trend that, people would be interested in seeing this possible spin-off or this possible, so you can take that data and analyze it and package it and sell it,
Yeah, you're the focus group business.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I know I'm taking up, but yeah.
But then you can start selling that data. So now, just like in Friends, they had certain people who advertised because that was their demographic who watched that. You can do the same thing. Now you're spinning off those fans. That's a demographic that you can start selling to. It could be Friends memorabilia, right? It could be, you know what I mean? Like there's other things that people will pay to get access to that demographic.
Another thing that, as you say, Friends and Adam Sandler, 90s culture is like
really big
popping
right
off like really hard right now, and like parents are talking about it, and it's all millennials, like we're the ones driving the force, but like parents are talking about, I want my kids to have a 90s summer, I want my kids to have a 90s style childhood, so like those hashtags, like a couple years ago it was the hot girl summer, so okay, Reese Witherspoon is a major producer and director in movies right now. Like she has an entire book club, not all, but a large number of her books in her book club turn into movies. Like maybe.
No, her brand is one of my mentors.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're incredible.
Yeah.
And so like now you can like go into those niches, and it's all based on trends that and you didn't have to start with trends. Starting a trend can be really hard. I've never done it. But I can follow them and like pulling those hashtags and stuff onto the internet, like. But yeah, Adam Sandler made me think. Of course, it came back. The 90s is huge right now. So yeah.
Thank you.
Well, all that stuff's coming back too because the new generation is not as creative as the 90s generation. Right? And so I don't think so. I think there's a lot of just copying.
They are, they just don't have access.
Okay. Well, they have more access now than ever before.
They have access to their own channels, but they don't have the access to like the big studio stuff.
Media.
They're all running scared, they're all on established IP.
That's interesting.
That's
You're
why
right.
they're rebooting.
Cottage industries, yeah.
Rebooting everything instead of making new things.
So debut at how 12 minutes?
12 minutes till halftime? Wow, that went by fast. Okay, so that's good. That's actually perfect timing. So at the end of the day, talking to your customers improves the likelihood that you're building a product that will serve those customers, right? So you don't want to create a product that nobody wants. And so talking to those customers is critical, but also understanding of those customers, what is their disposable income and are they willing to pay for those, right? Again, you're not willing to pay a lot for this, right? But if this was, champagne bottles or something like that, like what's the propensity to be able to spend more money on this? And you want to go after a crowd that has no money to spend, right? So you want to make sure you're picking the right demographic and the right person to go after. So I always, I'll go to that in a second, in the next one. This is a way that you test your MVP, right? You want to be able to spin up and test your MVP as quick as possible. We're done as the days of waterfall where it's like, I'm gonna spend the next 6 months or 6 years creating a product. Create a product today. Today's the day. You're starting today, right? And so right now, it's just talking to someone. You don't have to have something to show them. Jason, you don't even have to have the demo that you have, right? Just talk to them about social media. Talk to them about what their pain points are. Talk to them about what is the biggest thing that frustrates them when they're doing their monthly social media schedule, right? Those are things that you can do right now with everyone you come in contact with. And you have to quickly define it in your head what it is, but then quickly ebb and flow. And as you talk to the next person, change it, right? What if it did this, and tell the story differently, right? And see if it resonates better or worse than the conversation before. Your customers are going to be incredible. They're going to tell you a lot of what they need, what they want.
I'm going to ask the question that I asked the first time I heard that MVP term. What does MVP mean?
Minimal viable product. So you want a minimal.
In case anybody didn't know that.
So you want a minimal viable product. And again, it could just be words, but it's something in your head that you state that you want to do or you want to build, right? And so it's a step in the right direction. Before you launch the product, you need to talk to people about it. Are they willing to do it, right? And you've got to go beyond your friends and family because your friends are like, oh my God, that's such a great idea. You've got to go beyond that, right? You have to go to strangers, right? And you have to remember back in the day when you were walking in the mall, I'm dating myself here, but when you walk into the mall, you always have that survey person running up to that, an 18-year-old kid that's like, hey, let's fill out a survey, right? That's what they were doing. They're doing customer discovery. They're trying to figure out, like, what is their customer looking for? And so that's, you have to do that, right? There's no malls anymore, but go hang out in the park, go hang out at the library, right? And just tap people on the shoulder and be like, hey, listen, you got a second? I want to ask you a question. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want to know your input. Yeah. And so, why is it super important? Because I did this for the kids, for the high school kids. The very first thing I did when I walked in here, and we have a high school program that comes through here, is I'm like, who wants to buy a yacht? I'm selling it for $5 million. And it's like, all these kids looked at me dumbfounded, right? Like, I'm in the wrong market, right? I'm in the wrong place. But it's a great example, right? You don't want to be in the wrong place. Is your product just way beyond what anybody needs, right? And so if you're not talking to your customer, you have no idea what that line in the sand is. If you're here, great, but if you're here, way too much, right? And that is price, but that's also features and benefits as well, right? I don't need a watch that massages my back and tells me when my feet need rest, right? I don't need that, right? So you can make this watch do anything you want this watch to do, but too much is too much. It just creates too much complexity, right? And I'll be honest with you, it's probably too complex for me now. There's so many features of this thing, like I literally use it to record my walks, and that's it, So again, you need to make sure you're in the right place for your demographic. Price does not equal value, right? Value impacts your price, but it's not the same thing. And this is value proposition. So value proposition is a clear statement explaining the unique benefits of a product, right? What makes your product different than the next? And I have in here, Walmart. What's Walmart? Everyday low prices, right? That's why you go to Walmart. Everyday low prices, that's what it's known for. Amazon is known for quick and convenient, right? So you go to Amazon, you think I need Amazon when you have something and you need it tomorrow. Oh my God, I have a party tomorrow. I really need this product. Where are you going to get on Amazon, right? Are you going to go to Walmart? No, probably not. That's low prices. Duh, right? So they've already programmed you, right? So they've picked a solution that meets the need of their customers, and then they've doubled down on that piece. And that becomes, in your head, that becomes what they are. So really interesting, but I was, for 10 years, I worked in, more than that, 10 or 12 years, I worked in Atlanta, commuting back and forth, right? Hour commute. And I love billboards. I absolutely love reading billboards. I hate most of them. I think they're terrible. But I love billboards. I read every single one. And so, there's this case study. So who knows what Coca-Cola is like? What is their everyday low prices? What is Coca-Cola? What does it represent?
Enjoy.
Very close. Very close.
Wasn't it always Coca-Cola?
That's their slogan.
Okay.
That's not what they represent. They represent happiness. Happiness. So I'm having a party tomorrow. What's the first thing I need to go buy? I want everybody to be happy, so I'm going to go buy Coke, right? When they have programmed us to realize that you cannot have a party without Coca-Cola because it brings you happiness, and you want to have happiness at your party, right? And so if you look now, and remember this, because when you look at their billboards, you look at all their commercials, what are you going to see? You're going to see a guy jumping in the pool with a big smile on his face. Does he have Coke in his hand? Hell no. He's happy, right? Even the bears, even their Christmas bears, they make you happy, right? Everything makes you smile. Everything makes you happy, right? So wild to me. This is a sugar water company that's trying to connect themselves. Who's the CMO who sold that? I'm going to sell sugar water and make people happy. Let's connect those two brands, right? Let's connect those two words. But that's the word they own. What other brand out there is built upon happiness, right? A single word that they have built the entire multi-billion dollar, trillion dollar industry around a single word. And it represents everything that they do. Every billboard, every commercial, every product goes back and creates happiness, right? Who has a word in their world? Who has a word? What business? What word does your business solve?
Stress.
Good.
Self-care.
Self-care.
Memory.
Memory. Memories. Right? Good ones. Jason, I would say easy, right? Because you don't want to be difficult. You don't want to make people's lives difficult. It's difficult today. They want to go with you because you want to make it easy, right? Easy and expert, right? And your app does that, right? It makes it easy because people pull their hair out worrying about their social media stream, right? You have to make it easy. So I play this game in your head, pick a word, and build your business around a word because it makes things easier. And it ultimately, everybody says mission, vision, values. Why is the values so important? Why is it key, core, what's it called? Core concepts, core terms, right? Why is that so important to people, right? It's because, and people get frustrated because there's 12 different words we represent. No, you need one. One word. Because if you hire somebody tomorrow, what are you gonna say? Coca-Cola, we deliver happiness. Make sure you're happy every day you walk into one of our clients' gas stations. If you don't have a smile on your face, I don't want you working for me, right? How does that change the brand? Does Mountain Dew guy have a smile on his face? Does the Pepsi guy have a smile on his face? Right? Does the Gatorade guy have a smile on his face? Right? You want to make sure that you weave that into everything that your business does. And then IKEA is affordable design, right? And so you want, and think about it, everybody wants the best of the best. Everybody wants something beautiful in their house. They want to impress their friends and their neighbors and whatnot. But they can't afford it. Where am I going to go shop? I'm going to IKEA because I need affordable design, right? And so they've built a whole entire industry on a single term at the end of the day. So price is what you pay, so that is hard to see, but on the left-hand side, you've got an entrepreneur, businessman, who's selling watermelons for $4, right? And so what's the guy on the right doing? The guy is an entrepreneur. This guy is selling smoothies, watermelon smoothies for $4. How many smoothies does he get out of a single watermelon? A whole lot, right? So he's buying watermelon from the businessman and then making them into 8 or 10 different smoothies and making $40 off that watermelon. That's what entrepreneurs do, right? They reformat the product to fit the needs of their customer and to differentiate themselves against the competitor.
That's how iced tea was formed at the World's Fair. A gentleman was selling tea, and nobody had iced tea before, but it was a hot day. It was one of the hottest days. And no one was stopping by his tea booth. And he decided to put ice to help cool it down. And thus, he sold all of his tea, but that's how iced tea was created, was at the World's Fair.
That's genius. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
That is really cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It's a great story, yeah.
That is so cool. I love that.
That's crazy.
Because there was a need.
There
People
was
were
a need.
sweating,
It
right?
was hot and he couldn't sell.
And if it rained, he could have busted out his envelope with his umbrellas to sell, right? And when it's raining, guess what the price of umbrellas goes to, right? It quadruples in price.
Absolutely.
Supply and demand. So I have this yellow brick road, right? So our yellow brick road here is we start with customer discovery. It's the most critical piece of the puzzle. We then go to product market fit because now we know our customer and what they want. We do a product market fit and then we develop our MVP. And it's a circle, right? Because once you get to the MVP, then what are you going to do with it? You're going to go back to your customers and you're going to talk to your customers and define, is that the right customers you're talking to? And you start changing, you start moving it down, right? I was talking to 50 different customers. Now I need to talk to 15 of those 50 or get more of the 15 of the 50 because you're talking to the wrong people. So you have to develop a series of questions. So this is where it's really key to make sure you're asking the right questions. I was going to do this as an activity, and maybe we'll do it in a little bit, but let's just do it right now. What is a good question to ask your customer? Jason.
How much time do you spend on creating social media?
That's a great question. I'm going to write that down. That's so good. Time. Time is what?
Money.
Yes, it is. Time is money, people. Time is money. People sleep for how long? Let's say 8 hours, right? 24 hours in a day. We've got, 16 hours left? 16 hours left. You work an 8-hour day. Most people work a little more, but you have another 8 hours there. You have 8 hours left, right? So if you're going to, how are you spending that 8 hours? Time is extremely important. So at the end of the day, we have 8 hours of disposable time. right? How are you gonna maximize this? People still need to eat, right? So what, that changes to, let's just change that to 6. Now we only have 6 hours of disposable time, right? And then in there, you gotta get ready for work. Nobody includes that. Everybody says an 8-hour day work day. What about the hour that you woke up beforehand?
That's your time.
10:30.
Thank you. Right? What about the time that you spend getting ready for work? What about your commute? Right? You can bust out another, oh, good Lord, I take a long time to get ready. That's another 2 hours. So we're down to 4. Now we only have 4 hours of time, right? So 4 hours of time on a social media platform, max, right? That's all we have. And my phone is going nuts. That's all we have. We have to maximize that time. And there's 1,000 millions of products out there that everybody's selling you to maximize that 4 hours of time. So how, you have a lot of competitors, even though you don't have, even if you don't have an immediate competitor, every product out there is your competitor because people only have 4 hours of time. So yes, time's a good one. What else are we gonna ask our customers when we meet them?
Mine's a little different, I think, because I'm in like the finance, accounting space, but I ask them if they understand
Understand what?
the numbers of their business.
Okay. Okay, so that's a good one because if you're Henry Ford and you're all of a sudden talking about this car, you can get from place A to B with a vehicle. What is that? I don't know what that is. Do you understand? Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? You know, is that a horse with wheels? Like, what is it? So yes, understand. Do you understand is an important one, right? And allow them to explain so that you understand, right? So understand their life, to understand what they are looking for. What else is a good question?
Do you have experience with, so for me, is do you have experience with a breeder or do you have experience with a Yorkie or a dog? So I cater to one of those.
Yeah. What's your favorite water? You know, do you have experience drinking water? Do you drink water in small quantities? So, do you have experience with? Jason, you'd say, do you have experience with AI? Because if they say no, well, you're going to have to change your tune and talk a little bit differently. Talk a little slower, because they're going to have to understand what that means. What is another question?
I want to know if people are concerned about their teenagers launching into adulthood.
So maturity, we're talking about. So you're talking more about the end consumer. Again, great things. Is your consumer, is your product, is your customer your actual end consumer? If you're selling to children, is children your end consumer? No. Who is your end consumer? Parents. The parents are they're the end consumer, yes, but the parent is the purchaser. And the purchaser is the person who holds the wallet, is the person who owns the purse strings. So that's the person you're selling to. You're not selling to the child.
So would it be, what are your children gonna do when they grow up? Would be the question?
That's very specific to our business. I would say, what is your biggest concern about your kids? Right? Keep it very general, right? Yeah, right? Because you're selling mentoring services, you're selling, right? For lack of a better word. So if you're worried about gangs, right, that's a different demographic than if you're worrying about getting into a good college, right? So knowing who you're talking to is really important. Knowing where they sit on the spectrum of the income and urban, suburban, you know, is really important because you need to know what kind of questions to ask them. But that's a good open-ended question. What is the biggest concern about your kids getting older? Yes.
I always want to know when do people reach for tea? Because I have two audiences. They either do it for health reasons or they do it just because that's their basic tea drinkers. So that I can find because I teeter back and forth between my target audience.
So you're why.
Yep.
Yeah, your why.
When do you buy and where do you buy, right? So those are two things.
Okay.
So are they making a special trip like there's Tivana, right? So do you make a special trip to Tivana to buy tea, or do you buy it while you're at Publix? Do you buy it while you're at Walmart, right?
Or do you only drink it when you're sick?
Or do you only drink it when you're sick?
That
Yep.
type of thing. Do you only reach for it when you're sick, or are you preventative? Like, do you entrepreneur because you understand the health benefits. So that's what
Yeah, that's a great
I'm
question.
flopping back and forth between.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
That's a really important question because that's going to help you with your pricing and your distribution, right? Where does it
Yes.
have to be located?
What do you wish was better?
Pain
What's missing?
points. Thank
What's
you.
missing? Yeah.
That's awesome. Pain points with the current product. There's two different pain points. I can spell that right. There's two different pain points. There are pain points with the current product that they're using, or there's a pain point because there is no solution. If there's no solution to the problem today, what is the pain point with the problem itself, right? These are good. These are really good ones. So these are 5 characteristics of a customer, right? We have demographics. We didn't ask any questions about that. You should probably, at the end of the, can you please tell me some simple questions? Like, don't tell them how much money they make. That's silly. You can tell them ranges. Ask them, hey, do you make 100,000 plus, under 100,000, over 200,000, something like. Keep it very broad. What is your willingness to pay for a product like this? Once you explain your product, and I would not explain your product in the beginning, just say, I am looking to start a tea brand. Right? Please tell me about your experience with tea. Right? Keep it as broad as possible. Get them to open up. And in this world of interviews, quiet is good for you. You want to push them to say something. Right? Don't fill the space with your voice because then you're driving the direction. Ask a question and don't say a word. Make it awkward. Motivations as well. Like pain points are important, but motivations. So why do you want to solve this problem? Why do you think this is a problem? Who else do you think this is a problem for?
What if you have a client base that doesn't realize they have a problem per se?
Mhm.
You're trying to convince them that they do have a
So you don't want to convince anybody that they have a problem, but you want to ask around. You want to ask more detailed questions, right? In your case, if you're, let's just say the bookkeeping piece, right? If you're saying, what do you do at the end of the month to know how much money you made, right? And then they say, I just have an Excel sheet, and say, oh, how much time are you spending on that?
Yeah, so what's your IRR? How's your IRR on that score? You don't know what's IRR.
If I could free you up 1 hour a month for you to work on your business or talk to your customers, would that be beneficial? But that's more sales. I'm getting off the topic. That's not customer discovery, that's sales. You're not trying to sell these people? Tell them right off the bat, I'm not selling you anything. I just am looking for information. You get those calls. You ever see those calls? I'm working on my MBA, I'm just doing some research. I don't believe a single word they say. But please edit that. I've done those calls before, and I was like a 30-year-old sitting at a desk in an office. I wasn't in college. I wasn't, so not. But those work, right? Because they Google you beforehand. They find you on LinkedIn. They know what school you went to. And they're like, oh, I went to that school too. What's that do? Oh, this person is trying to better themselves, right? The minute they say, I'm a college kid just trying to graduate, working on a research paper, and I really need some input. Heartbroken. I'm here to help. What can I do? Right? So I'm not telling anybody to lie. Please don't lie. But I'm telling you, make it a conversation. Make it open people up, right? Be friendly and help them kind of understand. Don't make it last 12 hours, right? I need 15 minutes of your time and stick to 15 minutes, right? You're going to have a lot of different calls, so or chats, so you're going to need to take the time. Yeah, this is all kind of basic. Psychographics, right? Looking at interests and hobbies. What do you do for your 4 hours of disposable time every month, right? Are you at the pickleball courts? Are you at the gym? Are you gaming? Are you chatting in a online? Are you TikToking? Are you what are you doing when you're not? So this is really important because this tells you how to get your customer, right? Because if they tell you in all my spare time I'm gaming or I am, now you got to advertise where game people advertise, right? Or read. If they say on TikTok, well, done. I just need to advertise on TikTok. I'm gonna call Jason. So those are the things, you're gonna learn a lot about your business by just taking notes during this time, right? To know exactly like, what are they doing? You know, do you play sports? Do your kids play sports? How many kids do you have? You know, are you married or are you not married, right? These are all very important questions that help understand your customer and understand your business as time goes on. So I created a company a long time ago, 13 years ago now. It was very just random. I had a house, I didn't have a ton of disposable income, had kids to take care of and whatnot, and the house had exterior window shutters. The window shutters were made of wood, and my house was only 4 years old, brand new house when we bought it, and the window shutters were falling off the house. And I started calling up, I'm like, this is an easy solve, I'm just gonna get somebody to fix the window shutters. Well, they wanted like $15,000 to fix the window shutters. And I'm like, there's no value in that to me. Like coming home to now or no window shutters or $15,000 window shutters looks the exact same. It makes no input to me whatsoever. So in that case, you can't sell me on beauty. You can't sell me on design because I don't give a crap, right? They're worthless, decorative things. And so I'm like, I'm not buying those. That's ridiculous. And so I did whatever other entrepreneur would do, tried to figure out how to do it myself. And I'm like, well, I can build my wood, but then it's only gonna last another 4 years. And I'm gonna have to do this again in 4 years. Like, I'm not doing that. So I started looking at other products, and they make very, very expensive shutters that are made out of fiberglass. Fiberglass is very complicated. They make a lot of different ones that, you know, I wanted a product that did not rot. That was my thing. So this is the personality of the founder comes into there. I wanted something that was affordable and that did not rot and would last a really long time because I never wanted to deal with these shutters ever again. And so I had to go and create that product because nothing existed. That was not within my price range, right? Things, if I wanted to spend $30,000, I could have gotten, you know, fiberglass, beautiful fiberglass shutters. But I didn't want that. I wanted to spend a couple $1,000. That's all I wanted to spend. And so I had to go and produce and create that product. And so what did I do? I went out there and I found a product called, at the time it was PVC. I bought PVC boards, made my own shutters, put them on the house, painted them. Neighbors would stop me while they were walking their dogs and walking their kid. Those shutters are beautiful. Where'd you get them? I told them where I got them. I'm like, can you make them for me too? And so one job turned into, I did the entire neighborhood. Like literally I did like 10 or 15 houses in the neighborhood. And I'm like, well, this is awesome. But as I was doing these, I realized that PVC is probably not the best solution because PVC flexes. It doesn't work in every application. Sometimes when you paint PVC black, it absorbs so much of the light it melts. Mine had black shutters and they still exist on the house today, so they didn't melt. But I went and I used all this and I said, okay, now I need to have a better product. And so I started developing a better product. I built a business. I ended up going and finding a better product. I ended up finding and hiring a manufacturer to make those products. I ended up distributing and selling those products across the state of Georgia, right? All because I solved a problem that I knew I was the perfect demographic. I even changed the name of the company. I didn't change it. I created the name of the company. Was Affordable Exterior Shutters. Why did I do that? Because I was looking for months and months and months for these shutters, and everything popped out. Like it took me what size, what dimension, what this, what's that, how many windows, all this, until it pops out a price. I'm like, I don't have this kind of time to do all this. And so I would go to 10 different sites and spend 2 hours like pricing out all these different sites. And so instead, I'm like, I want to make it easy on the front end. I'm going to call it affordable. Well, everyone wants to save money, right? Everyone wants a high quality product for a cheap price. So the whole entire business was built around me and what I would do. So I went around, I talked to all these customers, and I tried to figure out, I started with family and friends so I could get feeling good about myself. And then I started randomly talking to all my neighbors, and then I started just randomly picking up the phone, dialing people in my area and saying, hey, do you have window shutters on your house? What I found was that people wanted to spend only between $200 and $400 per window installed. The going price was $2,000 per window installed. And so that's a huge gap, right? You have all these people that now in their HOA are going to start, chastising them because they have window shutters that are falling off the outside of their homes because they can't afford the solution. So I created my own market, My own market was people looking for affordable window shutters in Georgia and wanted to replace the current ones that they had, and they wanted something that was gonna last a really long time. So what that defines somebody who wants to keep their home, right? They don't want to live, they aren't gonna wanna move, because now they still spend money on investment, but what if you spent $10,000, $20,000 on these shutters, and then a year from now you move? Are you gonna take those things with you? Right? No, right? Does that increase the value of your home? No, right? There's no return on that money, right? Other than, that looks good, right? So I ended up calling them eyelashes because they're just like eyelashes, right? They're just like, they're not who you are, but it kind of just helps bridge the gap on the way in, right? So I would tell people, don't you want a pretty set of eyelashes on your house, right? And it worked really well with women. Guys were like, what are you talking about? So that was the idea. So let's take a break. We've gone half the time, and we have more when we get back. We're on 25 of 53 slides, so we're not like halfway done. So that's perfect timing. Awesome. Thank you all. All right, we're gonna get started back up. All right, we're gonna start it back up. We got a tight timeline here. 1 more hour. All right, so we're gonna break back out here in a second. So here's what I'm gonna ask. We need, historically I've used a lemonade stand because it's just easy, lemonade, right? Very easy. But I use that with the kids, and I figured you guys are a little more complicated than that. For me, I wanted to do this, but I don't think that's gonna work, water heater maintenance. So what simpler idea or business do we have where I want you all to start talking to each other and start doing your own customer discovery? But I don't want you to do it with your own businesses because it's just too complicated and too wide. So I want us to all pick a single business that.
Can you do a service?
Yeah, can we just?
Let's do social media as a service. Let's do social media. Okay with that? Okay. Does everybody do social media or know what social media is in here?
No, we have no idea.
Yeah.
Ron, do you know what social media? Okay. And you were like, tighten up a little bit. Okay, so here what we're gonna do. We're gonna do social media as a service, right? And so let's focus in on not personal, but let's focus in on business. You mentioned a little bit of social. We're gonna spend the next 15 minutes talking to one another about, and let's pick just 2 people, but then we're gonna switch. We're gonna do it twice, right? And so I want you to figure out customer discovery, pick which one of you, let me see, how does this work? We're gonna do this, we're gonna have to do it twice because we're gonna have to switch, right? So pick a partner and start interviewing them about customer discovery on social media as a service for businesses, for their business.
So like marketing,
Mhm.
social media.
Questions
So
like,
our business is social media, or social media.
your product
Doing
is social
somebody,
media,
social
Okay.
and you're talking to an individual who owns a business about what they do with social media. And the whole idea is that you're trying to create a product around social media in order to solve their pain points. Okay? So let's look up here. You want to know, I added this. This is a very interesting and very important question. What would you pay for this? So at the very end of your conversation, end it with, what do you think you would pay for a service like this? Okay? So that we are going to get price points from there. We're going to get time. How much time do you spend on social media today? We're going to, do you understand why social media is important? Right? We're going to say, do you have experience with social media? Because if you say no, then that's a demographic in their own, right? There's a lot of people out there that don't do it yet. So why do they not use it? When do you buy and where do you buy? And then what are the pain points for that? Go ahead, go. Pick a partner. One person is the customer, one person is the business. And then we're gonna, in 5 minutes, we're gonna switch. All right, we ready? Let's do it. Let's do a readout. What did we learn? right, ladies in the back. Ladies in the back, you want to start it off? What did y'all learn?
Well, I mean, I definitely learned the pain points of time, of course, with her. And then she's at the point where she don't even learn to pay for her service. And I think that's because of her confidence in her followers. She has something that's working for her. But she don't want to give up money to solve that problem because I believe that she was trying to start learning Facebook. I mean, YouTube, putting her essays on YouTube and see the results of that before she learned that or be open to Canva. I think that's the thing she's in. That some people with social media, they would like to experience it for themselves, jump into something new, seeing the results that they can do, especially after doing well on another social media platform. That's more new. So she's in new.
So, yeah, the Substack.
Yeah, Substack. So she did well on the newer social media, and then there is also more.
So my pain point is creating videos on YouTube, the time and the money.
Right, the time and the money. And so YouTube, of course, already have ways that it presents videos. Some of them talk head on, some of them present it in different ways. So she would change what she's doing and find what fits her. So I think that's what I learned from this is her experience with social media versus
How much time does she spend on it?
Oh, we didn't get it.
We have enough time to get it.
So in a given month, how much time do you spend on it?
Oh gosh, too much.
So she had my time.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you how much time.
Give me that. 5 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour, 30
Probably
seconds.
a day, I probably spend about 2 to 3 hours. It's mostly, yeah.
Okay.
And that's not even a real working day.
Okay.
A real working day. Okay.
Flip.
So her pain point is,
So y'all
no,
come up
we
here.
had a conversation though. But your
Give people open
oh yeah, her pain point is engagement and getting people to open up on, really Facebook and Instagram. And she would take it as a service, actually. And she's open to putting that into her budget. But we also realized that to talk deeper about that service, she would pay for more of a consultant than management.
And we learn twice a year, like specifically we have some. And really it was instantly YouTube, so, care about it. But
YouTube?
yeah, so that would be my two things.
YouTube and Facebook. Okay, perfect. Let's go next.
Okay, so neither one of us like social media.
Okay.
But she spends about 20 hours a week on her social media for her business. And that's not good because it's not producing results. The result that she wants. Now it's getting her visibility, but not sales. And similar to what they said about the bartering, when we came down to it, like what could solve their problem. And she said, I'm not spending, because I asked like how many have you tried services, what did they do? She tried a bunch of different services, they all tried in different ways to get the result that she wants, and none of them were able to produce that. And so what is it that you would be willing to do to get the results now? Because she doesn't want to pay and lose money again to get the results that she wants. And so we kind of came up with an idea of partnering with somebody who does that. maybe they're trying to start their business and using her business as a jumping off point to build their business.
Okay.
And then they only get paid if she gets for those.
Okay, perfect. Other side?
Yes. So, of course, she said that we don't like social media, but I love it because she is willing to pay for play. So the things that she does not like to do for social media, she has found a way to put that in her budget so that she is able to have partners to come in and help her do that part of the business that she does not like. So.
Okay. Did you ask any questions about what she's willing to do?
What she's willing to pay? Well, she's already, so I
What is
didn't
she
have. Oh, I didn't. I wasn't gonna get that personal. But we did find out that she does best on Facebook and LinkedIn for the people that she is trying to target. And she, what I love is that she piggybacks off of other people. So she has, when she does events, the people who are holding the events are doing video, they're doing the promotions, they're doing all of that. And so she doesn't have to do that because she can piggyback off of what they're doing, and then put it on her social. So that saves her a lot of time, and I really thought that was important. I like that idea. Yeah. So just finding another way to keep your site or your Facebook or Instagram or whatever you're doing kind of updated by using the other people who are actually active in or you're working for, and then putting it on there, which saves time also.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, who's next?
Art, and I'll use Chris as an example. So he is in the specialty tennis industry, and he spends about 6 to 8 hours a week. Chris has a creative media background. He enjoys social media, and so he does not. He loves it. No. And so he's not really willing to pay anybody else to do it because he likes it so much.
But I did say, however, that I would like, I don't know, but like to consider engagement with further industry experts as far as trends in various things like tournaments, events, recreational playing, school programs, after school programs. It's not necessarily about we moving product. It's about we learning community and engaging with it to just effectively get comfortable with that. Like that. Every day when I take my kids to school, there's 2 old men at 7:30 like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to talk.
Okay, perfect. What we got?
For Ron, we talked about that his social media experience may not be bringing in as new customers as possible. Ron is formerly retired and would not like to work anymore. So, it may not be the Facebook, the Instagram, but there is more specific forms where Ron can maybe sell his photography on the first.
Who's Ron Mulberry? You
Love
love?
her.
Okay, is that good for you?
So I got Barry. He has leadership experience in social media from a business standpoint, he's more of a business owner suicide. He was using social media to like use it and track the results of return on investment. How many people are walking through the door as a result of the social media effort that he was doing? His pain point is focus on getting people outside of his newsletter and how to scale the business. And figure out how to do something. describe it as an agent that wants to put the money in and get at least 2 to 4 times the return on investment for the dollars we spend. So whatever that magical number is. So he said he's waiting to wait on the return on the investment. So we asked the next question, how long are you willing to wait to see a return on investment? He said up to 9 days. What's a short one?
Okay.
Again, the opportunity cost, one thing I really like about him is that he's not afraid to make an investment, but he just needs to see the numbers to make sure he's getting it.
Yep.
And
So he's got a willingness to pay.
yes, he does willingness to pay.
Did you all have willingness to pay? I had
It was right here.
one there, you three. Yes, all three?
Yes. Again, he's really focused on seeing the data to get the acquisition numbers that he's looking for. That's very important.
Mm-hmm. So Barry has a willingness to pay as well.
All right, so for Jason, he has, for his initial statement, he has moderate experience with hands-on experience. He said he could develop a post within 30 to 40 minutes. He has that down for science. I did go back and re-verify that. He did still say 30 to 40 minutes. So he knows what he has.
For one post.
For one post, right. His pain point though is being perfect, being a perfectionist though. If it's not where he can actually have a perfect post, he's not going to spend a lot of time on it. And so as a result, it's inconsistent with the frequency of posting. Correct. So that's his pain. Yeah. He also has a good understanding of the social media world. And he also understands that it is changing, so he is very tapped into that arena. Some of the tools that he said he's using is Canva, ChatGPT, Tag Generator, and Stock Photo Libraries.
What's social media platforms?
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn.
All the above.
Well, you can put block on there for me, blocking for us.
And he said if he wants the results, he's going to be able to manage perspective and create the meaning for social media.
Create demand, is that ROI? Okay. All right. Anything else?
Oh, now he's willing to pay for it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How about you? Are you willing to pay for it?
I'm very, very willing to pay for it.
Okay. Are you willing to pay for it?
I'm not willing to pay for it.
6 out of 10. That's actually a pretty good market. Right? All right, so what did we learn? Right? What we learned was that 4 out of 10 people love it. Some have experience. We didn't all ask that question, but have level of experience with social media would be important, right? Everybody's looking for an ROI, some kind of return on investment. And the reasons why is some people hate it. Some people are lacking the ability to build engagement. Video is very hard. I think that's universal. Everybody I've talked to always says that. People are bartering, so cost is important. That's a barrier to entry. Time. We had some really interesting times here. People are spending a lot of time, right? 60, 90 hours, 80 hours, 24, so anywhere from 24 hours to 90 hours a month. It's a long amount of time. And so people aren't seeing the ROI, so they find it very hard. We're searching for perfection, but is there really something in social media that's perfect? No such thing as perfect in social media. People have limited experience, so they're scared. Things change too fast. ROI, again, is they're not driving drawer swings. So why are we not driving people to come into the store, right? Awareness, social media is great for awareness, but does it actually drive people to show up, or does it not, right? And that's a tough one. That's a real tough one. So this is, So what kind of service do we need or can we figure out from this?
So if you can build a social media platform or service that can guarantee our ROI, you're golden.
Yep.
Yeah, that is it.
We're using tools to save time.
Yep, so time is a huge piece. Good thing to, so the goal is that this, ultimately this has to save time, which gets you to the point where that's the very first question you ask. How much time do you spend on social media, right? Would it help you if I could save you that amount of time, right? Every business owner is probably gonna say yes, right? And then the other piece of the puzzle is, we know that you hate it, but you gotta drive more engagement. Does your system drive engagement, right? So now you're defining the product itself. You're defining the pitch of the product. ROI, now you're trying to, reporting would be important, right? Are you reporting on the outcomes of the social media campaigns that you're running? It's not really necessary to know what the channels are, but as you talk to more people, you know where to start, right? Facebook obviously is the clear winner there, so you need to make sure you can't go to market without Facebook. It's not gonna be helpful, right? Unless you found some real cottage industry around Substack that you can just do that, right? But if you're looking at something that's ultimately going to be all social media, then Facebook is a no-brainer. You have to.
It's interesting that no one said TikTok.
No one said TikTok, which is crazy.
Correct.
That's my favorite social media.
It's a favorite to scroll, but I'm not a poster.
So this, I would say, if I was valuing the industry, between this, I would say, and then this, the sheer number of pain points, I would say we have a pretty decent market, right? I would start, we never talked about competitors, we never talked, somebody did mention a system over here, but nobody talked about competitors, who they're using today, pain points with that user, right? But as we're talking about service, these are just a brief, you spend about 5-10 minutes each person, right? What if you spent 30 minutes with each person, right? And so, spending more time than necessary is good because you want that uncomfortability. You want that extra time that's just waiting, just sitting. So you want to go and say, hey, I need an hour of your time. You're only going to use 30 minutes, but you want to make it a little bit uncomfortable because that's where people come and give you the truth, right? I don't have time for this. Let me just answer your questions real fast, right? And have questions prepared, but also ebb and flow based upon what they say. Tell me more, right? Tell me more about this. Right, so we're trying to develop and build a product based upon the needs of the customer. So we know customers are willing to pay for the most part, 60% are. What about the other 40%, right? What about these people that the 60% of people do not love social media? So is there a value there, or are you selling them on social media, right? And so these are the things that you need to start calculating in your head out of all the people you're talking to. And we haven't gone to this yet, but my goal is 100, right? You have to speak to 100 people. Right? If before you sell your first product, speak to 100 people. If you do these same things that we did today in class, but you spent a little bit more time and you spoke to 100 people, these things are going to start, and you kept a checklist like this, these things are going to start rising to the top, right? We only have a very small market, right? This is only 2 people you talk to. But what happens when you start finding that everybody hates this, right? You're selling something that everybody hates, right? So, if they hate it and they need it, right, that's a product, right? If they love it and they need it, that's a product too, but you're gonna sell it a little bit differently. The willingness to pay someone who hates it, probably a little higher than somebody who loves it, right? And the person who loves it's gonna want input. They're gonna want to be like, I have this great idea. The person that hates it is gonna let you run with it, right? Because they don't care, they just wanna make sure it's being done. Right? But at the end of the day, from what Barry's saying, if you're not showing an ROI, then it doesn't work. So if you build this platform, it doesn't have metrics, it doesn't have a report at the end of the month or a weekly report, it's not going to provide the value to the customer that the value needs. You're going to have a customer 3 months and they're going to continue with you because they don't know what their return on their investment is. So you have to be very focused on that piece. Everything changes too fast. That's a huge selling point. You're on the cutting edge. We'll make sure that the connection stays live. We'll make sure that you know all of the things that you need to know. Nobody mentioned the difference between like organic social media and paid social media. There's no paid, nobody has mentioned a single thing about paid, right? There's a whole avenue, nobody even investigated, right? So we need to talk about paid. What about paid? Is there a whole different list of pain points, or is it the same list of pain points? Right? So as you get the idea is that we're taking your business structure, and then once you have these conversations initially, now you build a product in your head. It doesn't have to be on paper, it could be on paper. And you're gonna sell it now to the next person. So I have a product that does this, 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 and this. Does that sound interesting to you? Sure. What questions do you have about it? What are you willing to pay for this? Right? So now you're building a product, you're talking to more customers, and then based upon that feedback, you're building a new product and you're talking to customers. And you constantly iterate through that, and you do that for a few months before you have the customers start telling you, this is the product I'm looking for. I've been looking everywhere for this product, right? And now it doesn't necessarily have to be done, but you have a roadmap. Now you have a roadmap of where to get to, right? And so you're developing a product without ever touching any code or anything whatsoever, right? You're doing everything by just human interactions because your customers are telling you exactly what they need, right? And maybe you started in a group like this, but you realize that startups are not where you want to go. You want to go to small businesses. You want to go to large businesses, right? And so then you got to start getting yourself in those rooms to start talking to those people, right? And so you're trying to build, your customer and your product one person at a time. Questions about this? Okay, well, that's step one in our 59-step plan for customer, for product market fit, right? So once you have that, you've talked to your customers, you've got this list, now you know their pain points, right? And at the end of the day, if there's 100 people here, you have 100 data points, and you know what floats to the top, and you're taking the ones that are at the top, that are the ones that most people have those pain points, and those are the pain points you're gonna solve for, right? There's this really cool thing here, it's called the value proposition and customer profile. This is one that's filled out. It just kind of goes into, of your product, what is a gain creator versus the product service versus a pain reliever. So if you provide easy to follow instruction, that's a pain reliever. That's to relieve a specific pain point. Enables direct communication, right? So these are the things that solve your pain points, these pain relievers. These gain creators establish one centralized source of material. So this is the things that you need. These are the go-to-market kind of things you need. You need to be integrated with Facebook as a necessity, right? And I can share these slides if y'all want them. And then that defines your customer. So we didn't ask any questions. Nobody asked age, nobody asked income, nobody asked any of that stuff. How big is your company? Those are questions you also want to ask, right? I know we had a short time frame. You want to ask those companies too, because these pain points are going to differ if you're small company, large company, giant company, started yesterday, started 20 years ago, right? People that started much longer ago, 40, 50 years ago, they're gonna have more of a problem with the social media. They're gonna be more in the hate column, right? Because they hate it because they don't understand it. So again, you're trying to pinpoint who your exact customer is and develop a product for them. After that, you're gonna get into competitor research. Now I've talked to my 100 customers, I've got all my pain points, I've got all my features and benefits, I got everything that applies and is a software that I need to create, a service I need to create. And so now you're gonna go out there and say, if you don't buy my product, who's willing to buy, right? And start looking at it. You don't wanna create a product that's already available out there. That makes no sense. Just sell their product. You wanna create something that differentiates you. And if you truly learned about your customer, there's most likely not gonna be another product out there that's like yours, right? And so then you do your competitive research. When you do the competitive research, you want to look at the size of the company that is your competitor, right? These ships, what are they called? Aircraft carriers, thank you. These aircraft carriers are giant companies. These are the Walmarts and Amazons of the world, right? They're very slow moving. It's very easy for the jets to take over these because they don't move very fast. They don't ebb and flow. They don't move with the times. So if this is your competitors at this range, you can move faster than them. How do you move faster with them? You'd be more creative, more interactive, more engaging, more technologically advanced than they can be because it takes them a long time to build something new, right? You gotta look at distribution. We didn't talk about distribution at all, but how would you, once you create this company, how would you find it? Is it online? Is it me talking to you? Is it here at Launch Fayette where we sell it through Launch Fayette? Like, what's the distribution channels? So you're asking now personal questions, and you're free 4 hours a day. What do you like to do? Do you like to go to pickleball? Maybe I need to go and have an event at the pickleball location, right? Because that's where all my customers are. So you're asking those questions. But once you define who your competitor is, these are giant companies, these are large companies, these are very small companies, and see who you're competing with. If you're competing with a lot of these people can ebb and flow very quickly. They're going to be able to steal your ideas very quick. If it works for you, it's going to work for them. So you got to be very careful with these, because at the end of the day, we're creating barriers. We got to create difficult things to do. If you created a product that somebody else can just add one little service to, right? Like Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola already has water. They make all their drinks with water. So could they quickly take you over if you have this amazing water company and this water brand? They could. They could either buy you, which is a great avenue for an exit, but they could easily just say, I'm gonna build a Coke can with no soda in it, no sugar in it. It's water, right? And so you got to look at how easily can they overtake you if your product is not differentiated. Hence why you want to trim down. Hence why my friend went out after construction companies, because she knew that all the social media companies locally or in the United States, very few that are going specifically at construction. And if she becomes the expert in construction, she's going to have a differentiator that nobody else can replicate, right? You can go to the world's greatest social media person, but it's not going to be anybody. You're a construction company, she's going to do a better job for you, right? And so she differentiated herself and made herself, the queen of social media for construction companies, because she knew she had a lot of competitors. And now she's also able to market the price up, because she's the only one out there that does only construction companies. And it's helpful that she's local, because she can go to all your construction sites, right? You're not gonna hire a company like hers in California. They're not gonna fly over, right, over here just to take pictures of your equipment and whatnot. So she has this market she's defined, and she's been able to cut off vast majority of her competitors, right, by just defining a product that nobody else can match. So just an example here, if you're a car maker, right, you come up with a price, the price of a Ford, I'll just say it's a medium price. Toyota, same thing, medium price, right? The customer of a Ford and a customer of a Toyota is probably pretty similar. But what's different? The difference is the benefits, right? So Fords are a little bit larger, they're a little more affordable, they're a little more rugged and sporty, right? That's their angle. Toyota went a little different. They went affordable as well, but they went comfortable, they went reliable, they went with overall quality. Right? So the demographic is a little bit different. Not a person that's looking for speed and looking for beauty. It's a person that's looking for cost consciousness, right? Being practical, being practicality, right? So Toyota has a business because they've built this brand around what they stand for, which is practicality. A lot of times, people don't even care what kind of car they drive or what kind of car it looks like, as long as it's going to last a really long time for the money that they pay, right? And so, BMW went a whole different route, BMW probably invests more in research than any other car company in the world, right? Why do they do that? Well, because they want a really high price, but they work with people who are on the cutting edge, expect luxury, expect sportiness, and expect superior driving. So they have to be on that cutting edge. So the whole business, even their R&D, is re-engineered to support the brand and the business that they're creating, what they stand for. And the people they're going after are the people that are looking for, high quality, speed, luxury. They want to be seen. So the car has to be beautiful. Toyota doesn't have to be beautiful. It has to be practical, has to be cost effective and cost conscious, right? It doesn't have to be beautiful. But if BMW, it has to be beautiful, or else nobody's going to buy it. So then we get into pricing. So the pricing, same thing. We're going to chart our price of our competitors. And so we're going to look at our price competitors. We're going to say, hey, listen, customer E, this is our low price. Customer D is our high price. And you can see there's not really a big, huge change. It's from 400 pounds to 600 pounds. So it's not a huge change in price, right? If you had a Louis Vuitton on here, Louis Vuitton would be up here compared to their competitors, right? They went the angle of my brand and my customer requires the best. Right? They want to be seen. They want their product to be seen. It's an accessory that people notice, right? But then Walmart went down here and they said, customer E is at 100 pounds. I'm going to be at 50 pounds. I want to be on a complete different spectrum, right? So their pricing strategy goes into their brand, goes into their customer, goes into everything else that they did. They didn't just come out of the blue and be like, Louis Vuitton and be like, I'm going to have a $50,000 purse. No. It was all by purpose. It was all by design. And they also, by design, you can go to different Louis Vuitton stores around the world, and they have specialty purses at each individual store that are for a limited time. They cost $100,000. But what are people doing? Jumping in their jet and flying to India to go buy, I'm not lying, this is true, buying a $100,000 purse because they want to be the only person to have that, right? And it's a small run. They only make a handful of bags. They're extremely expensive, but that's what their market wants, right? It's a status symbol. Yep. So those are the things, but they know their demographic extremely well. That's what the demographic wants. They don't want to be walking around next to somebody who's 3 people in the room that have the same purse as I do, right? So you have to know your customer at that level. So then that goes into your brand positioning, and this goes into our designers right here. So, you've got Guess down here, we've got Hermes and Louis Vuitton up here, right? So you've got prestige price, you've got exclusivity. So where are you on the mark on this market, right? These two words are, it's probably price and value is probably the same, or price and quality are probably the two things you want to look at. But you've got to look at your brand versus your competitors from a price and quality perspective. Where do you stand? Because it's going to impact your manufacturer is going to come to you and say, hey, Dave, do you want to use plastic or do you want to use metal? The plastic is cheaper. But if I go back to my brand is all about quality. Which one am I going to use? Am I going to use plastic or am I going to use metal? Right? So it's going to impact every decision that you make in your company from day one, what you represent. And that then impacts the price of your product because it's going to cost you more to manufacture. Right? But if you're Walmart, it doesn't. Because Walmart's all about cost savings. So they cut those corners when they're building all they're building is a warehouse, right? Costco went even deeper. Costco, the shelving used to not even be metal, right? It used to be like wooden shelving and stuff like that. So they went the avenue of being cheap because all they wanted to do was rotate products at the lowest discount they possibly could constantly. Jason.
Yeah, no, this is great. I'm really enjoying the presentation, David. And an interesting point that I just want to call out is as we're considering about that pricing strategy, we also have to look internally and understand what you can do and sustain. And so, an example that's often cited is when businesses try to compete in a space that they're not equipped to compete and put yourself out of business. See what I'm saying? So Walmart, they have the infrastructure, they have the automation, they have the workflows, the systems, the relationships, the pricing leverage to where they can do that, right? And so, if you're a local business, don't even try to compete in that space. And so that's what this is talking about here also, right? Because to produce that, let's say Louis Vuitton purse or Chanel or Gucci, those, right? It's not the same materials that Guess is doing, and plus they don't even want to be associated with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's just, that's just another layer to also look at as consider.
Yeah, and most people, if you're a general person, you may have one Louis Vuitton your whole life, but you'll probably have 15 or 20 Guess, right? They're selling on volume versus on prestige and exclusivity. Features and benefits. So features are different than benefits. These are differentiators that appeal to your target demographic. So features in this umbrella is it's unbreakable and that it's waterproof. That's the feature, right? The benefit is, what's the benefit? Protects from harmful sun rays. If it's UV protected, it protects from harmful sun rays. So that's a benefit. Blocks out raindrops. That's a benefit. Right? So you gotta know the difference between features and benefits. People at the end of the day are buying your benefits, not your features. So when you see an ad, like Apple's a perfect example, right? Apple never told you anything about their computer in their advertisements. Never at one time. They probably never even shown their computer in there. It's all about their brand represented being edgy and being different and thinking differently. Apple, think differently. It has nothing to do with the product at all, right? And so at the end of the day, you don't know what the product, what the computer has or the phone has until you show up at the store, right? They did it on purpose because they're trying to sell the brand, but they're also trying to sell the benefits. The benefits are that you trust the brand to represent a great product. You don't care, you're gonna buy it no matter what. You're probably not even gonna ask the questions, how big is the storage? You don't care. You know it's gonna be big enough for you because you trusted they thought that through, right? Because they knew their customers so well, they knew that. So I'm gonna go, this is my last couple of slides. So I love Jeeps. I hate them, but I love them as a product. Who has a Jeep? I apologize ahead of time. I apologize ahead of time. I think they're the worst product in the entire world, right? They're slow, they're poor on gas mileage, they're rough riding, they're very uncomfortable, they leak most of the time, right? Especially if the ones at the tops come off and stuff like that. But they sell a ton of these things. Why? Why do they do that? They sold 200,000 annually. Yes, sir.
Because mine is 26 years old.
That's awesome. It probably leaks a lot. So they sold 200,000 of these a year. Jeeps have outsold Ford Mustangs and Chevy Corvettes. Two amazing vehicles. One of the best muscle cars that ever were made, and the Corvette, one of the prettiest, fastest, most sold luxury speedster like ever made, right? These are not cheap. They're $60,000 to $80,000. They're not cheap cars. They're not the Walmart, right? But that's $12 to $18 billion a year. They're selling a piece of trash tin can for $12 to $18 billion.
But people have to have somewhere to put all the rubber ducks.
I am not the market. I'm not the market. That's why I think it's a broken tin can, right? I'm not their demographic. But what do they know? They know their demographic.
It's a cult.
It's a cult.
That's what I just
It's a
so,
cult.
Yeah, Jeepsters or Jeepers or what are they called?
Yeah.
Jeep life.
Yeah.
You have people travel from city to city, you know. You wave when I drive, I got about 6 waves on my way here. So I get to say hi to my other Jeepers. You all don't say hi to your Corvetters.
They built a lifestyle. They built a lifestyle around it.
Yes.
So,
You should consider adding Harley Davidson.
yeah.
A slide for this.
That's a good
It's
one.
the same
Yeah,
exact
same
thing.
exact.
So what are the positives? The positives are why they know their customer extremely well. They're highly customizable. They're rugged. They're convertible. They're culturally significant. They look really cool to the people that drive them. And at the end of the day, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle brand, right? For everybody else who doesn't believe in that lifestyle, it's a broken tin can. But for the people that love it, they're buying 200,000 of these a year at $12 to $18 billion a year. So is that a bad product or is that a fantastic product?
Fantastic product.
Fantastic product. So you want to be there. You want to be the product that everybody says, yuck, but you make $18 to $20 billion because you know your customers that well.
Or rather, fantastic product positioning.
Correct, or that.
Do you want to talk about my second car, which is a BMW?
Nope. So just to recap here, this is it. We're done. This is the last slide. So A, understand your customer. Talk to your customer. Talk to 100 customers. Your life will change. After 50, at least get to 50. But after 50, life will change. Things will make a lot more sense. And do it in a short amount of time. Don't be like, next 10 years, I'm going to talk to 100 customers. Right? I need you to do this within like a month or two at the most. Identify pain points. Define your solution that solves those pain points. Understand your competitors that now you've created because you have pain points that are similar to other solutions. Create a better solution, including pricing, delivery, features, benefits, branding, and positioning, and then do the exact same thing again, right? Now you're using this product to talk to your customers, identify pain points, define a new solution, right? Understand the competitors of that solution, define something better, and just keep on going through the circle, right? And at the end of the day, I don't know how long it's going to take you, but at the end of the day, you're going to have a product that's better than anybody else's. That's it. Any last comments or questions or? Yes, sir.
So, I guess it's a question about how to avoid getting too deep in the weeds on customer discovery, because one particular thing that you could point to a lot of different things like differentiation in the marketplace, right? It becomes not just a question of what is somebody willing to pay and what niche that are you filling that doesn't exist, but the values of the customers, the variables of the values in the customer base and how they weigh those and how that affects the goal. Like, is there, because I've got a customer survey that I've, Google sheet that I've done, and I try to be detailed but not overwhelming, just to get more engagement and stuff like that. But it's one of the things it doesn't tell me is, like, without specifically asking, it's like, okay, well, given all these answers that you've supplied, how does it affect how often you purchase? What decisions you consider on where you're going to purchase? Is it simply just availability, price, convenience? You know, where do all these things converge, and how can that better inform me on both targeting the people and then successfully closing on their filling that niche that's missing?
Where do you want your store?
On wheels.
Okay. See, that's interesting, because I would say that's very smart. The reason being is you can have a flow to where all the tennis players are. You can also go to tournaments, things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have a fixed store, what matters is the number
And I'm a
of
destination instead of
your destination, and it's a matter of how many tennis players you have within a certain radius around that store, right? And so having it on the wheels is really smart. You're competing against, if you had a store, a physical store, you're competing against Amazon, you're competing against .com, right? Tennis.com. That is a tough place to be because you can't compete with price. Right. They're going to come to your store, they're going to find something, they're going to go online, they're going to order it online. Unless you have something like custom, like if you go next to Home Depot in Peachtree City, there's a custom golf cart or golf club manufacturer, right? Yeah. You can't do that online. So that person's fixed the issue of you finding something you want, going online and buying and getting shipped to you. So that's a really good thing. You're fitting a need where if I'm on the course and I have a tournament going on, and now all of a sudden I got to restring my racket, how do I do that, right? You're right there. So you're an immediate need. People are going to pay a price, premium for that.
I work part-time behind the desk at the tennis center, and 2 weeks ago we hosted a junior tournament, and I strung 40 rackets over the weekend. And one thing that happened was repeatedly, do you guys sell shoes? Mm-hmm. Do you guys sell grips? There's nothing.
Does the tennis center?
They don't sell.
They don't have a store at all?
They don't know. They used to.
Well, that's crazy.
But the city bought
now
it.
the city took over, and it became a city operational, not just city owned. And we do now sell one brand of tennis rackets. And I don't know the full story of why that is, but that literally just started like in March. And I think we do have some pickleball houses.
That's where I would start. I would say, hey, listen, I'm going to start this business and it's going to be on wheels, but I want to start with having a store at the tennis center as well.
Yeah.
Right, run this for them.
Yes, there's lots of space.
Mm-hmm. No, I love it. I think, see how he went and he already thought through and who he's competing with, right? He's competing with the .coms. He's competing, like, he knows that he needs to be on wheels, but he can't get close enough to his target demographic. And so now he can go and jump in the car and go to different tournaments and be the guy who he gets it restrung, and get those extra rackets, pair of shoes that they need. So my son plays lacrosse, and we go far. We go to like Nashville and play lacrosse. There's all those stores because guess what kids forget? You tell them to pack the car before you drive 4 hours, and what do they not forget? They forget their shoes, they forget their socks, they forget their pants, they forget their rackets, I'm calling it clubs and rackets, and that's not what it is. Anyways, they're sticks. And it's like, it's funny because we've got one parent whose son, very competent kid, who forgets all the time. So like one tournament he forgot shoes, the next day of the tournament he forgot a stick, and it's like every time it's costing them like $300 for this kid to play lacrosse. And it's like, it's funny, but if those stores weren't there, where are you gonna get that stuff? It's very specialized. You can't go to Dick's, you can't go to an academy.
It's beyond the regular inventory that you find.
Yep. So I think you've got a great business. That's fantastic, right? And I still recommend you talk to customers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I need to get. Well, I've got about 50 that have done the survey, so I need to get.
And the best part of your product is an MVP. You don't need a truck. You need a table, right? You need a table with a banner on it, and you need your boxes of products, right? And you can do that now. You don't need to roll a truck to be at the tournaments today,
right? And
you can learn from your customers in real time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a self-contained pop-up shop.
Yep. Cool. I like that. Awesome. All right, y'all. Thank you.